Our stories are more than just the events that happened to us in our past. They shape the way we see ourselves and how we respond to others. Our stories reflect a pattern of how we live and show what we believe to be true and important. So, with that in mind, let me ask you a question. What stories in your life most define you? Many things in our past influence us in very positive ways. Maybe you had a mother that prayed for you, or a father that was very protective. Possibly you got a job at just the right time and gave you a second chance, or there was a teacher that believed in you and encouraged you. Sadly, there are also negative influences that come into our world and shape our lives also. Often, those involve us feeling very insecure and needing someone else's approval. And what we do is take bad guidance. And by saying that, I mean guidance that goes against God's instruction. Maybe it's about sex, what it means to be human, getting ahead, finding meaning, any of those things. But the world's guidance always ends in emptiness and anguish. So let's talk about overcoming those bad stories in our lives. I'm going to read from 1 John chapter 5, 1 through 5, as we talk about overcoming popular influence, earning acceptance, and marketing lies, all those things that come into our lives and influence us in bad ways. Listen to what John said. Everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ is born of God, and everyone who loves the Father loves his child as well. This is how we know that we love the children of God, by loving God and carrying out his commands. This is love for God, to obey his commands, and his commands are not burdensome. For everyone born of God overcomes the world. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. Who is it that overcomes the world? Only he who believes that Jesus is the Son of God. So, we overcome the world by believing that Jesus is the anointed one of God. And as Christians, we're known as believers. Paul told Timothy to be an example to the believers. We believe that Jesus is the Son of God, the Son of Man. We believe in the cross of Jesus Christ. We believe in his burial, of his resurrection, and his ascension. We believe, and when we believe, we are born of God. We experience new birth. It's a rags to riches story. We were in poverty, and now we're made sons of the King. It says here in John that if you love the Father, you also love Jesus. You know, you can't say, I want God, but don't give me Jesus. No, the Bible doesn't give us room for that. Although it's a common expression in the world these days to say, I want Brahman, I want energy, I want Christ consciousness. No, we want repentance and the righteousness of Jesus Christ. We come to the Father through the Son. So let's focus for just a moment on what it means to believe. The way that we know that we are born of God is by loving God. Do you love God? And what does that look like? Well, we love God by trusting, by reverencing, by worshiping. But also here in 1 John, it says a second way, by knowing and obeying his commands. We carry out his commands. That's how we know that we're born of God. When you're born of God, you obey God. Also, we see here that his commands are not burdensome. This means that they're not excessive, they're not extreme, but they're reasonable. Now, sometimes his commands do go against the grain of us feeling comfortable. Yes, they can be uncomfortable and inconvenient at times because they can complicate my life a bit, right? I want my way, and God's way gets in the way of my way. But God gives us boundaries for our lives, which is a good thing. Has your life ever been totally out of control? Feeling completely out of control is unsettling and it's frightening. It is not burdensome to know God's boundaries. In fact, they give us peace and cause our lives to flourish, and we become overcomers. Here is our key spiritual insight. The one born of God overcomes the world. Before coming to God, the world was domineering over me, over you. The world influences what you value and how you view yourself. It's a system that's at odds with God. Let's get back a couple of chapters and read from 1 John 2. Only one verse here. Verse 15 tells us this. Do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. We're told here not to love the world. And this takes discernment. And by discernment, I mean the ability to judge well. And the Bible, when it speaks of the world, is referring to the world's corrupt value system. Loving the world means being devoted to its treasures, to its philosophy, to its priorities. We overcome the world when we're born of God, and we continue to overcome the world through our faith. It's a matter of faith, of trusting God's way and His work in our lives. Our continuing, persistent faith in Jesus, the Son of God. And you know, without faith, it is impossible to please God. And without faith, it's impossible to overcome the world. So what I want for you is to escape the snares and the traps of the world, those bad influences and those stories that have come into your life that have influenced you negatively. Who is it that overcomes the world? Only the one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God.